Hey, you viewers and viewers, my name is Donald Red Strategist, and welcome back to Surrey Being Hunted, episode 721, I do believe. It is a Wednesday evening, ladies and gentlemen, it's about 9:15, and, done a little bit of recording this evening, just because, I can and all that. Basically recorded a short indie horror game that I just had in my Steam library, and thought, you know what, I might also record a cheeky little Sir episode as well, because why the hell not? Let me just grab all that before the friggin' robots show up, because they're suddenly spawning right on top of me. Game, do not like spy combi, thank you very much. But we're here again on a new map. Basically just another podcast style episode, ladies and gentlemen. Just figured I wanted to record another Sir episode, because why not? My queue on YouTube is getting, ooh, as a rifle. Wow, talk about easily distracted, ladies and gentlemen. There I am talking about something and I'm like, ooh, rifle. There we are. Right, let me get the sherry as well. Lovely. God, yeah, what was I talking about? I literally have completely distracted myself. What a friggin' achievement, ladies and gentlemen. What am I like? No, but yeah, I wanted to do a podcast style episode just because, like I say, it's an evening and my queue's getting a bit low in my upload schedule, that is. Basically, I only have a few videos for the next coming day, so kind of need to start thinking about recording some more. So I think I'll record maybe a quick episode of Sir. And then maybe a sedate episode of The Long Dark. A bit more Long Dark. Another episode of that, maybe. Episode 8, that is. I think that'll probably do us fine, ladies and gentlemen. So, one thing actually I did have in mind as a topic of conversation for this one is my latest literature that I've been reading in my spare time. Because you know me, I've talked about books I've read, things like that, before on the channel, particularly in Sir. I've read a good book or something, or at least one that's interesting. Maybe I'll talk about it. And I've read a couple rather, lately that kind of stand out for various reasons. I'm probably going to ramble on about them here, ladies and gentlemen. So there's two novels in particular which I've finished in the last few weeks as I'm going to record this. Both of them sort of sci-fi books, I'll just go through them one by one. The first one that I read quite a few weeks ago now was a book by a guy called Ryan Hughes, The Black Locomotive, it was called, which, yes, this video will contain spoilers, in essence, for the plots of these books, these novels, because I imagine not everyone will be familiar with what these books are, what they're about and all that. But The Black Locomotive was a sci-fi which basically... I got the feeling that the author was someone from a civil engineering background, because a lot of that book has a lot of just stuff to do with design and engineering in it. Namely, after every chapter, there's all like pictures of diagrams of London and stuff like that, and maps and whatever else have you, which is fascinating and all. It certainly makes it stand out from other books and all that. But the basic plot is... it starts out with Crossrail. If you don't know what Crossrail is a thing underneath London. I think it's ongoing. I'm pretty sure it's not fully complete yet. It's basically a tunnel digging project, digging out essentially new underground railway tunnels, subways, and so basically the story starts out with Crossrail, with a particular project, with a tunnel that's being drilled in a certain location of London, or beneath a certain location in London, I should say, and in essence, the tunnel boring machine, or whatever it is they're using, the workers on it, that is, it's set in present-day London, incidentally, in case anyone's wondering. Basically, their machine drills into something that's buried deep underneath the ground, and what basically unfolds is a story of how they basically find that this thing they've drilled into is some kind of massive alien space vessel that has basically been buried underneath London for God knows how long, since, at least kind of the early days of humanity or whatever. And London over time has just been sort of built on the substrate on top of it. And it's an interesting book, because basically what happens is someone basically gets trapped inside it, and then another character basically embarks on this sort of personal quest to try and get them out. And what they have to do is, it basically what happens is the main character who's trying to get this other character out of this alien spaceship is basically a locomotive enthusiast who discovers that there was this thing sort of like from World War II-ish called the Strategic Steam Reserve, and essentially what that is it's kind of like a strategic emergency stockpile of steam locomotives formed, I think, under Churchill's government. And basically he, with the help of a couple of other characters, manages to find one of these locomotives and uses it to basically force entry to this crashed alien spaceship that's buried underneath the city in order to get this person out. And yeah, like I say, you definitely get the sense that, right, oh shit, that is not what I wanted to do, ladies and gentlemen. I just wasted my bullet. I probably just jump scared everyone doing that. But yeah, reading it, you get the sense that Rian Hughes, the author, probably is maybe A, a bit of a locomotive enthusiast, and B, probably also a bit of a, engineering, design enthusiast as well. And overall, I'd say it was an interesting story. I was a bit sort of underwhelmed by the ending of it, to be honest, because it just kind of, I don't know, I felt like it just kind of ends quite abruptly. In essence, the main character does find the character who's trapped inside the alien spaceship, but finds that this other character basically has become sort of fused with the craft, and the craft is basically reactivating, and then it basically takes off into space with London literally on top of it, and that's it. That's where the story ends, which kind of makes me wonder if Rian Hughes was planning to write a sequel to it or something. I don't know. I'd have to look online to see if there actually is a sequel, but it was an interesting book. Like I say, I just felt a bit underwhelmed by the ending of it. It just felt like it was sequel baiting, potentially. But, if you want to read something that's a bit different with all its weird illustrations and visuals of design and maps and whatever else have you, then it's worth potentially picking up and taking a look at. So that's Rian Hughes' The Black Locomotive, ladies and gentlemen. Not too bad. The other book, which I finished more recently, was by an American author called Ray Naylor. And the book in question is another sci-fi, and it's called The Mountain in the Sea. It's set mainly in sort of like a near-future Earth where environmental disaster has basically just left the world's oceans with dwindling fish stocks, and basically humanity is pretty much massively exploiting the seas in order to try and harvest it of what little protein essentially remains. And so the main character is this Vietnamese woman who is a scientist, Dr. Ha Nguyen, and I assume that's how you pronounce her name. I probably butchered it, but basically she is sent by a corporation called Dianima to a research project on a place called Con Dao in Vietnam, where basically there is a strange project that is studying what is believed to be a sapient race of octopi that humanity has come across. And so the real kind of theme of the book is all about how would humanity communicate with an intelligent species that is very different to ourselves. How would we sort of bridge the communication gap? And I'd say I enjoyed it a bit more than The Black Locomotive. Not saying I dislike The Black Locomotive by any means. I did enjoy it, but like I say, the ending of it was a bit underwhelming. And but The Mountain in the Sea was kind of very interesting because obviously it raises a bit of a philosophical question about, human behaviour, stuff like that, in terms of, if we encountered another sapient species, not necessarily even an alien species, but even possibly something on our planet, how would we react to that as humans? What would we do? And how would we try and establish contact? And how would that go? So the reason I guess Ray Naylor decided to make his other intelligent species basically octopi was because obviously octopi are a very alien life form to us that communicates in a way that is very different to how humans communicate. And so it is kind of an interesting ending to that book where it's sort of a bit bittersweet, because on one level, the project that Dr. Nguyen is part of doesn't quite sort of produce the results that she wants, and it kind of ends with kind of chaos and violence as the octopi and the humans essentially are constantly kind of finding themselves in conflict with one another, with the fact that obviously humans are harvesting the oceans of all protein and decimating a lot of oceanic ecosystems. But there is sort of like a slight note of optimism as well, in the sense of it is implied that at least one of the octopi actually begins to understand that humans are attempting, the human research team, led by Dr. Nguyen, is attempting to communicate. Sorry, my throat may be a bit croaky. Been at work today, okay, and I've been in seminars, so I've been talking a lot. But yeah, I think overall it was a decent book. I think it's not just the octopi that are also interesting, which kind of exemplified the book's kind of theme about communication difficulties between two intelligent species. Because one of the characters in there is basically an android who is proper, the first kind of like sapient machine, and there's a whole sort of like little plot around that character as well, which is really interesting. Which is, it's the same kind of thing but from a different angle. How would humans react to knowing that there is something else on their planet that is just as, if not potentially more intelligent than they are? So, if you see it in The Mountain and the Sea and you like your sci-fi, especially ones that pose maybe some philosophical questions, then, Mountain and the Sea is an interesting one. So I would say, yeah, if it's, sounds like something that would grab your attention, maybe, give it a whirl. See if you like it and all that. Because I kind of did. I enjoyed it for what it was. But that's the two books then that I've read fairly recently, and my current reading material, ladies and gentlemen. I've gone for a classic actually this time. I'm actually now reading Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson for probably the second time in my life, because I remember reading it once when I was a kid, or at least when I was a lot younger. And fun story about that, when I was a lot younger I had this copy of it which was really beautiful. I can't remember which publisher it was who released this particular edition of it, but I remember as a kid I had this copy of Treasure Island that was really lovely because it had really beautiful artistic colour illustrations. And sadly, as I've gotten older, I don't know what happened to that copy of Treasure Island, because recently, a few months back, during one of my visits back up north to visit friends and family, I asked them about it and I said, do you still have that copy of Treasure Island that I used to have as a kid? And they were like, I don't know, I don't think we do. And I had a look through their attic, because there were still a few books they had from when I was younger that they had shut away in one of their wardrobes. So I was going through all the books they had from when I was younger still in their place, but I couldn't find it, and I'm really kind of sad about that, because like I say, it was a really beautiful copy of the story, and I swear to God, if I freaking gave it away to a charity shop or something when I was a teenager, I will legitimately kill myself. No, I won't do that. I will legitimately kick myself, that's what I wanted to say, because my God, why on earth would I get rid of it? I'm assuming that's what happened to it, I don't know. Maybe it's buried away somewhere at my old folks' house, I don't know. But, yeah, if they can't find it, then I've no idea what happened to it, which is a real shame. But, basically, for Christmas 2024, my mother, obviously perhaps sensing that I was kind of disappointed by the fact that we couldn't find that old copy of Treasure Island, she bought me a new copy. So it's not the same, obviously, additional copy as I had when I was a young one. I was a young lad. But it's a nice copy, and it does have a few sort of black and white illustrations of its own, not full colour ones, unfortunately, but still, it's decent. I like it. And so I've started reading it again for the second time. The exploits of Jim Hawkins, embarking on his adventure to Treasure Island and all that. I've not yet got to the part where Long John Silver comes into it, but I've read the bit where obviously Blind Old Pew and his band of scallywags basically, well, I was about to say where they die. I mean, Blind or Pew dies. He gets run down by horses. But his men obviously flee. But I'm just past that bit. And it's the bit where basically now Jim Hawkins, Dr. Livesey, and Squire Trelawney are basically thinking about embarking on the quest to actually find Captain Flint's treasure. So getting to the good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And if I remember correctly, Long John Silver will be, he'll probably be coming into it fairly soon, into the story, that is, from what I recall, anyway. But yeah, Treasure Island obviously is an absolute classic, and if you love classic stories, well worth a read. And the thing is, I mean, Robert Louis Stevenson obviously was alive and writing in the sort of mid-19th century, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously the writing style isn't well, how should I say, it's not as simple and straightforward as writing styles are today. It can be a bit more wordy and verbose, but having said that, mid-19th century, it's actually not that difficult. It's actually still fairly easy to read, I would say, from what I've read so far, from what I remember. So another book there, ladies and gentlemen, that is well worth picking up and reading, if you get the chance, in essence. Then again, you know, some of you may well have read it already, in your own time. In which case, let me know in the comments. And of course, let me know in the comments, you know, if you do know of any good books, good novels, good bits of literature, whether modern or classic, contemporary, whatever, of any sort of good genres, whether that's sci-fi, horror, adventure, classics, anything that you think I might be interested in. You know, I'm always open for suggestions and all that. Incidentally, I'm also reading another manga. I'm reading an anthology of One Piece, volumes 4, 5 and 6. I'm also reading that as well, because, you know me, I like to pick up a good manga every so often. I need to get back to watching the One Piece anime as well. I forget which episode that I was up to. I think it was up to something like episode 150 something like that. It's got to have been at least a couple of years since I watched a One Piece episode. Alright, well, that'll do, I think, for a podcast-style episode, ladies and gentlemen. So, hope you enjoyed that. Listen to me ramble on about my latest literary pursuits, or whatever, if you can call it that. Facebook and Twitter links down below, along with the links to my propagandist channel for anyone interested. Likes always appreciated, of course, if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody. I feel like that could well be the case. And again, do they have anything in there that's worth... Holy shit. Actually, they don't look like they got much. There's a mule postbox over there, though. Look at this place. It's a fucking abandoned farm or whatever it is. Part of me wants to just take a look inside, even though there isn't really anything there, but... it might be worth it, just to see if there is anything else to find. I don't know. I'm definitely going to take this fucking... No, it's alright, it's just that. Fucking hell, look at this place here. Right, put that away. Okay, how are we doing in here though? This fucking abandoned farm and all that. What a spooky fucking place this looks like. Good lord. Just getting a shot there in case I decide to use that